you know, it was a paradox. It was a paradox because I think Lenin said that the most important art of all is movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, so we have to, you know, put some money in the movies if it's so important. So there was no commercial pressure at all, at all. If you could spend millions, and if the film lost all the money, you were applauded. You know, you were a hero. And then came the, you know, waves of when there was a strong ideological pressure that you conform to the official ideology. It was called socialist realism. Nobody knew what it was, but everybody was doing it. I was 10, 11 years old, and my brother, who was 12 years older than I was, he was already 22, 23 years old, and he was a, say, stage designer in a small traveling operetta. And every time this operetta came to a city where I was living at the time, he took me backstage. And I loved it. I was 11 years old. Not even soubrettas and dancers kicked me out of their dressing room. I was too small, you know. And I was fascinated by the smell of makeup and haute cologne and all these costumes and everything. And they were my gods. The dancers, the girls, the dancers, the singers, they were my gods. And then there was this one man, shabbily dressed, to whom these gods of mine looked as if he was a super god. So, who is that? Oh, he's a director. That's something. In 1962, Kirk Douglas bought the film rights to the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Ken Kesey. Yeah.
Ken Kesey, yeah. 1962. Kirk Douglas was the super mega star. To his absolute shock, no studio would give him money to make the movie, because it's about mental illness. Who wants to watch these loonies? Who wants to see this pathetic, sad kind of things? So, but Kirk is a very stubborn man, so he said, I produce it myself, I'll find the money myself. But he had to do it for very little money. And so he needed a director who is not very expensive and who could work. And he was on goodwill tour in communist countries.
Thank you. Coffee, I'm Dr. Speedy.
Dr. Speedy, what a pleasure it is to meet you.
Sure. Pull up a chair, sit down, let's talk.
Sure.
Interesting, this is the only scene in the whole film which was improvised. At least half improvised. I gave the doctor exact, how do you call
instructions,
it? Not instructions.
Lines.
What every sick man gets comes with him.
Yeah, dossier.
Description of all of the problems, and told the doctor, listen, you just do your job. He is the real superintendent of the hospital. He's not an actor. He's a real doctor. And I said, well, do your job. Here you have your patient. So, and Jack knew a little bit from the book, you know, what the character of McMurphy is, and he played along. So this was the only scene in the whole film which was improvised. No, I'll tell you, Jack Nicholson is a brilliant actor. Brilliant actor who, from the moment he comes on the set till the moment he leaves the set, he is absolutely prepared. He knows his lines. He is concentrating. He is very much aware to collaborate with other actors. Wonderfully works with other actors, you know, absolutely. Before he comes to the set, after he leaves the set, I don't know till today if he's crazy or not. But I wanted to be very faithful to the book when it comes to the Indian. It's a big, big, you know, tree trunk. It's not easy to find big Indian. They're small. Most of them are very, very small. And we sent scouts to Canada, where a lot of Indians are working on skyscrapers because they don't have vertigo. Running like this, you know, 100 meters above the earth. No. One day, a used car salesman, Mel Lambert, calls and says, "Hey, listen, come here. I found the biggest son of a bitch of them all." To teach that horse to run through the paper took like 4 or 5 months. So that, you know, that the guy who rides the horse, that the horse lost fear and just went through the paper on the stage. The problem was that since that moment, that horse couldn't go near any wall because he would go right away in the wall. But another little incident happened which really shows you the magic of the movie making. It's really magic. Because we are shooting a scene with to the end of Don Giovanni, where Commodore, the ghost appears, and Don Giovanni, you know, singing, you know, to him like that, leaning at the table, it was a big table. And he had a beautiful hat with long peacock feathers, you know. And of course, when we rehearse, as I said, candles are not lit. And nobody noticed that when we rehearsed, that always the end of these peacock feathers are very close, very near one of the candelabra, which, you know, didn't matter, but the candles were not lit. So now let's get ready, okay, to make the story short. Camera, roll it, light the candles, roll the camera, playback, and music starts to, you know, loud, and Don Giovanni is performing in ecstasy and lean at the table. And suddenly, we all are watching, we all are seeing that the feathers caught fire. And slowly the fire was going on. You know, it took long, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds before one, and we had like 50 firemen all around the theater, you know, because that's the theater which is the only theater from the 18th century which still exists in Central Europe. You know, to burn it down would be, you know, long 10 seconds before the one fireman stuck his head from the wings and said, "Mr. Forman, excuse me, would you please stop the camera? One of the actors is on fire." You know, that was magic. Because once the camera is rolling, the whole world can come to an end. Unless the director says, "Cut!" Let's burn the whole world down. I like easy way to work with actors. You know, first of all, the most important is to choose right. If you choose right, 90% of your work is done. And that's it, you know. It's, actors are very fragile instruments, and my philosophy is less I talk to the actor, less I confuse their heads. Good producer is enormously important, because it's the trust, mutual trust is base for a good collaboration. I have to believe, if the producer tells me, Milos, I'm sorry, I don't have money for this, that I know that he would do anything, and he did everything to get the money. And if he says I can't, I have to believe him, and then I am really more than willing to compromise and work on a compromise, you know.
Well, Milos, thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Thank you.